All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us this morning. My name is Tim Fenner, Men of Excellence Program Coordinator at the College of Southern Maryland. And on behalf of Student Life and Athletics, welcome to Talon Talks, a series of hour-long student-focused virtual events. We hope that you are all safe and healthy and your classes are going well. We are excited about to bring you this morning's session, Transfer Services and the PassFail Discussion Option. All you need to know is Jacqui Rogers, Coordinator of Transfer and Articulation. Jacqui will share helpful information on transferring to another college, university, and explain what PassFail means and how it could impact you. The session includes an open discussion and a question and answer component. Before we get started, just a few housekeeping items. Please submit your questions or comments through the chat function. Questions will be answered after the presentation. Finally, please remember to be courteous and respectful to all our presenter and your fellow students and attendees. Okay, without further ado, Jacqui Rogers.
All right, thank you, Tim, for that introduction. Like Tim Fenner said, my name's Jacqui Rogers. I'm the Coordinator of Transfer and Articulation. So first, to kind of go over some things I'm going to talk about today, I'm going to go over the CSM transfer data, kind of giving you all insight of what has CSM students previously done when it comes to transferring out of CSM to another institution. I'll provide you some tools into preparing for your transfer experience, specifically talking about how to transfer courses and what are these articulation agreements you always hear about. And then lastly, you have to have a way to pay for it. So I'll talk about different scholarship opportunities you can look for to help pay for your transfer experience. So you're not only saving money now, but you're saving money later. So like I said, my title is Coordinator of Transfer and Articulation. I feel like this GIF really describes my role well. I really work behind the scenes with the four-year institutions. I don't typically advise because I'm working with the four-year institutions. I'm under normal circumstances on the road a lot, traveling to other institutions and really making sure that you get the most bang for your buck when it comes to your transfer credits. It is my job to make sure that all this hard work you're putting in at CSM pays off and that you can transfer and have the maximum number of credits transfer as possible. And within this, while I work a lot with the four-year institutions, I also work closely with the CSM advisors and faculties, kind of serving as a liaison between the two, communicating any changes, important information, and things like that. So when it comes to CSM transfer, we have, according to our most recent transfer report, we had 1,737 students transferred to 258 institutions in 39 states. That's a lot of different colleges and universities throughout the country. And sometimes we even have our students transfer internationally as well. So this is really great because it shows CSM's giving our students a platform to really branch out and try new experiences and go and experience new things. But at the same time, it makes my job harder, but I'm okay with that because it means you all are getting the most experience that you can. So when you look at our top 10 institutions, these are where most of our students transferred per our last report, to give you insight. So our #1 transfer institution is UMGC. It used to be called UMUC, and that's the online version of University of Maryland. Our #2 school is UMD at College Park. 3, Towson, 4, Salisbury on the Eastern Shore, 5, St. Mary's down the road, and then from there it goes UMBC, Frostburg, Notre Dame, Bowie, and then Chamberlain School of Nursing, which is an online nursing school. So as you can see, even though most of these institutions are in Maryland, they are all over the place in Maryland, from the Eastern Shore all the way to Western Maryland in the snow and mountains. When you look at our top 10 out-of-state institutions, you see that variety as well. So again, our #1 out-of-state would be classified as Chamberlain because they are online, but they're technically based in Illinois. Our #2 is Liberty in Virginia. 3, West Virginia. American Public Universities based in West Virginia. Cabela is an online institution. Arizona State is mostly in person, but they are branching out with some online education. Same with Grand Canyon and Southern New Hampshire. And then down in the Carolinas, we have East Carolina and Coastal Carolina. So our students do tend to go all over the place, but it seems like everyone wants to go south where it's warmer. So there's a myth out there that when you come to CSM, you should just transfer as quickly as possible. You know, come in, get those classes, don't worry about graduating and transfer. This is a myth because it's not always in your best interest to transfer as soon as you can. Here's a timeline to kind of provide some context of really planning out your transfer experience from 4 semesters out to your last semester. So really, you want to start planning early, because sometimes the classes you take your first semester at CSM can determine what your transfer experience is like. You could end up taking some classes that won't transfer to an institution or apply to the degree that you want to transfer into. I also always suggest that you take your math and your English courses as soon as possible. For a lot of institutions, they will not, even if you don't have the associates, they will not consider you and accept you as a transfer student if you have not already taken your math and your English classes. So go ahead, just get them out of the way and have it done. Also, start looking at those transfer plans in student planning. Just like you can look at degree requirements, you can look at transfer requirements in student planning. So this can really help you decide what general education classes should you take, what electives you should take, things like that. And they're based on our articulation agreements. So that means that they are based on a legal document that the four-year has to recognize. So these have been vetted and we know they will work. In your second semester, really start narrowing down your transfer experience and start looking at our different institutions in our resource page. Also, if you're interested in transferring to UMD, apply for the MTAP program. And if you're interested in transferring to UMBC, apply for the Transfer Student Alliance. In your third semester, you really should have an idea of your top few transfer institutions. I always say don't put all your eggs in one basket. Make sure you have about 2 or 3 options so you can have your bases covered and really start kind of finalizing those plans. And then in your last semester, make sure you apply by the priority deadline, not the regular deadline. Apply early and make sure you've applied for any financial aid, scholarships, housing. Some institutions will let you start applying for scholarships before you've heard about your admission decision. And then make sure you send your final transcript so that they can see that you graduated, your final grades are on there, there aren't any pendings or incompletes. So here are some things to kind of keep in mind when trying to decide whether or not it's worth it to earn an associate's degree. If you earn the associate's degree, many institutions have earmarked scholarships specifically for those who have earned the associate's degree. Some examples of this are University of Maryland, College Park, Frostburg, West Virginia. You save more money now earning your associate's degree, and you'll get more money at your last 2 years because you have that associate's degree. So it really helps save you a lot of money. Some institutions also offer general education waivers or block transfer options. So for example, University of Maryland, College Park, they have a lot of what we would call lower level general education requirements, meaning at the 100, 200 level. For example, they have 2 courses that are required called the I series, but we only have 1 class that equates to that, and it's a random business class. So you wouldn't be able to earn both of your I series classes here. Because of that, UMD offers a general education waiver, saying if you earn that associate's degree at the 4-year institution, what they will do is waive all your lower level general education requirements, and you'll just have to take their upper level writing, which is usually built into the major. So you're not taking a whole bunch of extra classes you don't need once you transfer. And then also a lot of institutions will give priority admission or guaranteed admission if you have that associate's degree. We have about 30 general admission, guaranteed admission agreements with 4-year institutions saying if you have a certain GPA and that associate's degree, they will accept you. Now, whether or not you be accepted directly into your major may be a different story if you're looking at, say, engineering or nursing, but you're at least through that first hurdle of being guaranteed admission to the college. So when you're starting to think about where you want to transfer, there's some things to keep in mind. First is location. Are you bound to the Southern Maryland area because of family commitments, work commitments, things like that? Or are you one of these people that you want to, go anywhere in the country or even the world to transfer? Kind of think about what's going on in your life and what is successful for you. And also think, are you wanting an in-person experience or an online experience? Also consider the cost of attendance and financial aid options. A lot of times students see that sticker price and they get concerned and freaked out. Don't just look at the sticker price. Look at the scholarship opportunities as well. So for example, West Virginia University, even though you'd be an out-of-state student, if you have a 3.5 GPA, you can qualify for an $11,000 scholarship. So that would bring it to be a lot more manageable than some of our in-state institutions. So look at the whole package, not just the sticker price. Also consider the size of the institution. Are you one of those students that you want to walk in and, you know, immediately talk to an advisor or a faculty member and get to know them? Or are you a person where you don't really need that experience? You want the big school experience with the football games and things like that, because that can really determine your learning style. And then going along with this, we know the faculty to student ratio. At bigger schools, you won't be taught by a faculty member. You would most likely be taught by a graduate student who is working with a faculty member. So kind of decide, is that the educational experience you want? Also, make sure your credits actually transfer there. And when I say they transfer there, I don't mean an if, I mean a how. You want to make sure that you're not taking 60 credits here and then only 20 apply to your major. You know, that doesn't really help you in the long run. Also consider your support system. If you're somebody who really relies on your support system, you know, are you going to be able to manage that being further away from home and things like that? And then lastly, also be realistic. Do they offer a major you want? You know, is that a priority for you, or do you just want the institution's name and you're flexible on the major? So earlier I talked about 2 pre-transfer programs. There's going to be a few more coming in the next few months, but these are our current 2 we have. Like I said, MTAP is with the University of Maryland College Park. The application is open twice a year. With this MTAP program, you receive a 25% discount on one class up at main campus during the winter and summer terms while you're a CSM student. So this is really great if you're at CSM and want to major in, say, architecture, because while we don't have any direct architecture classes, you could take some architecture classes over the summer and winter at UMD while earning your associates here to get that gen ed waivers and save money and have that priority admission. And like I said, for UMD, they get priority admission to the MTAP students versus transfer students. This is a free program, just like TSA, and it's really like a Giants rewards card. You sign up, it's free, it doesn't cost you anything, and you use whatever benefits you want to use. UMBC's version is TSA. Yes, that's a horrible acronym. I don't know why they went with TSA, because that's confusing to everyone. But theirs is called TSA because it's the Transfer Student Alliance. Theirs is like MTAP, but more. So they do guarantee admission to the institution, not necessarily a major, but to the institution if you're in the TSA program. And as well, you get access to their facilities on campus. You get access to early registration and advising, and you're guaranteed on-campus housing and an application fee waiver. Now, if you have a 3.5 GPA or higher and you're in TSA, you're also guaranteed a $1,500 scholarship a year that can be stacked on other scholarships at UMD. Like I said, these are both free and it doesn't cost you anything. So even if, in the back of your mind, you're considering UMD or UMBC, just go ahead and apply. UMBC has a rolling application. So once you've earned 12 to 35 credits, go ahead and apply. For UMD's TSA program, you have to have already completed your high school degree. But once you've completed your degree, you can go ahead and apply. The application is currently open and closes at the beginning of June. So a really big point I always want to get across to students is how do you explain your transfer credits? There's a very big difference on will my credits transfer or how they will transfer. I can guarantee you 99% of the time your credits will transfer. The question is though, are they going to transfer in a way that's beneficial to you? Sometimes you'll see credits transfer as what's called a lower level elective. This means you're getting the credits to count towards that 120 credits, but it may not necessarily help you with, say, major requirements, general education requirements, things like that. So when you're talking to your transfer institutions you're considering going to, it's really important to ask them, will my credits apply to my degree program or to graduation requirements? So that's a really important piece. And sorry, my dog's making an appearance. So really make sure you have those conversations so you know, and you don't have surprises about your credits. Because if you have 60 lower level electives, you probably won't graduate in 2 years once you transfer. However, if you have only a few lower level electives, you're more likely to graduate on time. And lower level electives aren't always a bad thing. So for example, if you're getting a Bachelor of Science from Frostburg State, you do have to have 15 elective credits anyway. So that could help you in that situation. But in some majors where you have a lot more requirements, you don't necessarily want a whole bunch of lower level electives. So don't ask the if, ask the how. And you've heard this mentioned before, but there's basically 2 ways that kind of dictate how your credits transfer. One is an articulation agreement. So these are pre-approved legal documents by CSM and another institution on how we will transfer credits. So these have been predetermined, they've been vetted, and they lay out a clear pathway for CSM students to transfer to that four-year institution. These 99% of the time require an associate's degree. Now, say you want to transfer to an institution where, you're not going to earn your associate's degree before you transfer, or we don't have an articulation agreement with that institution or that specific major, then you'll have to do what's called a course-by-course transfer. Basically, you'll print off your transcript and you'll go line item by each one and verify with the four-year institution how that class specifically will transfer. So articulation agreement kind of looks at a bigger picture. Course-by-course is one by one. And there's some ways to determine that whole course-by-course transfer experience. So if you're interested in attending an institution within the University System of Maryland, there's this thing called ARTSYS that's supposed to show you how credits transfer from the two-year institution to the four-year institution. However, if you use ARTSYS, my word of caution is screenshot everything. Sometimes our four-year institutions in the university system aren't keeping ARTSYS up to date. However, they are supposed to recognize what is in ARTSYS. So if you're going to use ARTSYS, screenshot it. And then if for some reason they're saying they won't accept it, you give them the screenshot. If they still won't accept it, that's when you come to me and I step in as an appeal body. Some institutions also have their own specific websites. So for example, UMD, they don't use ARTSYS at all. They have their own transfer database that specifically shows how courses transfer from any institution to UMD. So one benefit with that, it's not looking at specifically CSM to UMD. Say you attended West Virginia, then you came to CSM, then you are planning to go to UMD. This would show you how your classes from West Virginia transferred to UMD and how your classes from CSM were transferred to UMD. Because for UMD, they don't care how CSM accepts those credits, they will accept those credits in their own way. And then for a lot of other institutions as well, they have databases similar to UMD. So if you go to our transfer course equivalencies page on the CSM website, we have links to about 20 of our partner institutions' transfer course databases, such as West Virginia, James Madison, North Carolina State. So you can have a more central hub of trying to figure that out. Now, if we don't have it linked, you can look around the other institution's website, or you can contact their registrar's office and they should be able to provide you with some resources. Like I said, an articulation agreement, it really isn't a big investment on part of the CSM and on part of the four-year institution. It is a document that shows that both the sending institution as CSM and the receiving institution as the four-year institution is very committed to this relationship and helping these students succeed. That's why we put a lot of value in these. So this number has gone up. I think we're at 106 for articulation agreements with about 50 institutions. And that includes in-state, out-of-state, and international institutions as well. So we really recognize that our students are transferring to many institutions all over the place. So we make sure our articulation agreements are reflecting the nature of our student body. And there's different types of articulation agreements to kind of categorize. So first is a program specific. So this, for example, would be saying you're getting a business degree from CSM for a business degree, say, at Towson. So this is a one degree to another degree that is completely mapped out with the courses. Another option is a block transfer. This makes my life so much easier. So a block transfer is when a four-year institution is saying, once that student earns the associate's degree, we're not going to look at course by course. We'll accept the whole package and you come in at the junior level. So some examples of a block transfer would be with Goucher College. We have a block transfer agreement for our Associate of Applied Science degrees, because typically these degrees have less gen eds, but because they're taking them as a block transfer, you don't have to worry about going back and making up freshman and sophomore level classes. Once you transfer, they have a list of 60 credits you need to complete, and then you're done. We also have some statewide agreements. So these are agreements that are regulated by the state of Maryland, not by institutions. And so they determine how these credits transfer. Two examples of these degrees are Associate of Arts in Teaching and Associate of Science in Engineering, specifically computer and electrical engineering. So the state dictates how these transfer. They tend to transfer as a block degree, block transfer, but not always. And then the last type of agreement is a guaranteed admission agreement, like I talked about earlier. If you have that associate's degree and a specific GPA, you're guaranteed admission to that institution because you attended CSM. So some common issues I see in regards to the transfer process. One is lower level elective credits. Like I said, you don't want to ask the if, you want to ask the how. So, and also realize you have a right to appeal if you do not agree with how your credits transfer. So their first step is you would fill out the appeal process with that institution. If that does not work, that's I serve per the Code of Maryland regulations and laws. I serve as our appeal representative. So if that does not work, you reach out to me and I work with the four-year institution to handle your appeal. Again, with arts is screenshot everything. You know, you want to save those receipts. And then when it comes to transcripts, unless you're otherwise told, you will need to submit your transcripts twice. You'll submit them once when you apply for admission, and then you'll submit them once your final grades are posted from CSM. The only exception to this is Virginia Tech, because they don't require you to submit your transcripts when you apply for admission. But besides that, pretty much every other institution I work with, you need to submit them twice. And if you don't submit those final transcripts, it can hang you up registering for classes. So make sure you submit those as soon as the registrar's office has said that the final grades are on the website. And you can go to the registrar's website and they'll tell you when it's okay to send final transcripts. So there's been a lot of talk lately about this PassFail option CSM introduced about 6 weeks ago. You know, what does this mean? Is this a good option for me? So I wanted to provide you some things to consider when you're trying to decide, is this the right choice for you? So there are certain majors where it's advised that maybe you shouldn't necessarily do PassFail. Two big programs that we suggest that are the health sciences and education. Because within these programs, it's not necessarily just thinking about your transfer of credits, but there's also licensure and certification issues also at play. So we really suggest don't just immediately do PassFail for these. Really do your research, talk to the institutions, things like that. And then for computer science, business, and engineering, there are certain classes we recommend that you do not do PassFail. So when you're looking at your transfer institution, they may have certain classes specifically in these majors where a B is required. If your transfer institution requires a B in a certain class, PassFail is not a good option for you because our PassFail is a C or higher. So that may make it trickier for you to transfer those credits in and to continue in the course sequence at that institution. So really do your research and see, do I need a B in this class or do I need a C or a D? Because for CSM, in order to do the PassFail option, you have to earn a C or higher in that class. Some other questions to consider is, make sure you ask your partner institutions, can I apply this PassFail grade to my major requirement or general education course? You know, this kind of goes back to the whole if versus how. A lot of institutions will say, yeah, we'll accept PassFail. But if they won't accept those PassFail grades to apply for your major requirement or general education class, that can really mess you up and require you to take classes that you technically already passed. So make sure you have asked these questions to the admissions counselors at the four-year institution before you automatically opt in at CSM. You also want to see how it impacts your prereq requirements and if you need that B minimum. Because you don't want to pass a class, but then because they can't determine you made an A or a B, have to go back and make it up or take an extra diagnostic exam. Go ahead and ask those questions before you fill out the form. And the nice part about the way CSM is handling the PassFail is you will know your final grade before you have to opt in. So say, for example, that you know you need a certain grade in a class. You can see if you got that grade or if you could do the PassFail. And also look at, you know, is it going to bring down your GPA or is it going to bring it up? So there's a lot of options to consider. So make sure you ask questions because you have up until May 22nd to fill out the form. But once you fill out the form, you can't go back. So do your research before May 22nd. So scholarships. College is expensive, you know, and coming to CSM and being a transfer student, there's a ways to save money, not only being a CSM student, but once you transfer as well. One of these is the Regents Scholarship. So this is a transfer scholarship that is managed by the University System of Maryland. Each community college will nominate 3 students to be considered for this scholarship, and the university system will award a limited amount of full tuition scholarships to any institution within the University System of Maryland. Just as a heads up, the process is currently delayed this year. We are still waiting for communication from USM, so don't be alarmed, information is coming. UMD also offers their own transfer scholarship that provides a full tuition scholarship called the Frederick Douglass Scholarship. You have to earn your associate's degree, but this is the most prestigious scholarship for transfer students at CSM, and we actually had a student win this scholarship last year. So these are achievable scholarships. Like I mentioned earlier with West Virginia University, if you have a 3.5 cumulative GPA or higher and graduate with your associate's degree, you will automatically be guaranteed $11,000 a year in a scholarship to West Virginia. So that's a lot of money, and it brings that cost of attending down. For Mount St. Mary's University in Northern Maryland up towards the mountains, if you have that 3.5 GPA, you're guaranteed $22,000 a year. And for West Virginia and Mount St. Mary's, if you don't quite have a 3.5, don't worry. They have some tiers below that as well, where you won't get as much money, but you'll still get some scholarship money based on your GPA. Frostburg State University is the least expensive public institution in Maryland, so you would already save money going to Frostburg compared to any other institution in the USM. However, they also have really good scholarships. So if you graduate with a 3.0 in your associate's degree from CSM, you're guaranteed $2,500 a year at Frostburg. So you already have cheap tuition, and you get an extra $2,500 on that, you would be in very minimal to no debt doing that option. Just be aware they have snow and mountains. And I know they're still offering the scholarship. I received an email last week from Frostburg that they still have scholarships available. So if you're looking to transfer this fall and you're graduating this semester, you can still apply there and earn that scholarship. For George Mason University, similar to West Virginia and Mount St. Mary's, they have a guaranteed scholarship of $12,000 a year if you graduate with a 3.5 cumulative GPA. Morgan State University offers $2,000 a semester if you graduate with and come into certain majors. A list of those majors is on the CSM Transfer website. And then lastly, if you want to go over to the Eastern Shore, Salisbury offers $1,000 a semester if you have a 3.5 GPA. So earning that associate's degree and coming to CSM, you're saving money in your first 2 years because you're not paying the full price of a four-year institution, and you'll save money later as well, which is a really great option. All right, so now I'll open up the floor to any questions anyone may have. Like Tim mentioned at the beginning, put your questions in the chat feature. I have the chat up so I can monitor it and answer questions as they come in. So I'll give it like a minute or two to see if any questions come up. So my email's on the CSM website. I also recommend you reach out to an academic advisor. Like I said, since I work behind the scenes, I don't always have access to students' records and academic information. But if you work with an academic advisor, they'll be able to relay any information you need regarding their transfer process. And then also, if they don't know the answer, then they'll get in contact with me. So like I said, my email's on the CSM website, or you can email an academic advisor at advisor@csmd.edu. Yes, so currently the current pandemic COVID-19 situation has impacted transfer deadlines and requirements. A majority of our institute transfer partners have delayed their transfer deadlines later into the summer or even a rolling process, which is really great and provides flexibility for our students. Some institutions are also offering application fee waivers. I know Norfolk State emailed me yesterday, I believe, saying they're now going to offer an application fee waiver. Howard University, I believe, is offering a waiver. So there's a lot of institutions. So definitely when you're working at these institutions, ask about waivers because they are starting to give these out more. Some institutions have also lowered the requirements. So like I was talking about with the PassFail, I've been in communication with most of our partner institutions, and they are going to be flexible about the PassFail grades and the semester's grades because they understand that, you know, there's currently a situation happening. For anyone interested in pharmacy, I know UMES School of Pharmacy is waiving the PCAT requirement for this semester as well. Oh, also as well, shout out because Mona's on the call. If you have any questions about nursing transfer specifically, Mona Weber is a really great resource. She put her email address in the chat as well. So if you have any questions about nursing, even if you're not in the AS nursing yet, but you're thinking about being nursing, the earlier talk to Mona, the better. So you can take as many of those prereq classes as you need. All right, any other questions? Tim, you're on mute if you're trying to talk.
Still getting used to Zoom, right? And listen, thank you, Jacqui Rogers, Coordinator of Transfer and Articulation, for taking time with us today. If students have any questions or would like more information, how would they get in contact with you? I think you provided them with an email, correct? Or...
Yes, so my email's on the CSM website. It's jgrogers@csmd.edu. Or for more specific information, there you could contact advising at advisor@csmd.edu.
So thank you very much. Again, thank you everyone for joining us for today's Talent Talk brought to you by Student Life and Athletics Department. We have sessions scheduled each week for the remainder of the semester. Check out the full schedule at www.csmd.edu/talenttalks. Stay healthy and stay well, and we'll see you next time. Take care.